Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so. Yeah. I'd like to call to order the Sherburne County Board of Commissioners December 8th meeting, and we will begin with a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would anyone like to approve the regular proposed agenda?
Madam Chair, with members' permission of the board, staff did send 2 items out that we would like included on the agenda. It would be item 2.33 and item 2.34, both under consent. Item 2.33 is a notice of intent to apply for a composting grant from the federal EPA, and 2.34 would be an estoppel certificate that was requested by the county attorney's office.
So are those in the consent agenda?
They are.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll move the consent agenda with the addition of 2.33 and 2.44.
Okay, first we have to approve the regular agenda, and then we'll
sorry.
do the consent agenda.
Okay,
So would you like to change that to?
yes, I'll move to approve the regular agenda as presented
With the
the
changes?
additions of the consent.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Now we can move on to approving the consent agenda.
I will move the consent agenda with the addition of 2.33 and 2.34.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, now we can move on to the public hearing. We have one from Bailey Ray's Roadhouse public hearing and approval. Hello, Diane.
Good morning, Commissioners. We had a request for the licensing and for the sale of Bailey Ray's to a new owner. And we requested a publication, in which we did. We put publication in the papers for the 19th and the 26th of November in our legal newspaper. We have received no comments from the public as of this morning. We did receive approval from San Diego Township Board on November 10th. And that's all I've had. That's all the comments I've got on that, so.
Okay,
You have to open the public hearing?
yes, okay, we'll open the public hearing now. Is there anyone here? Is there anyone here? I think I have to say this 3 times. Is there anyone here? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, in regards to your deal or separate?
This is for the public hearing.
Public hearing, yeah.
Bailey Ray's?
Yeah,
My bad.
Okay.
okay. Well, seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you. We'll notify the recipients then. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So now we can move on to announcements.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Just a few short announcements. We'll start with updates for news-related activities. First of all, Micah did send a correspondence that noticed a slight revision in dues based upon the 2021 census numbers versus 2020. There's a change. Sherburne County's dues go up by $233 for 2023, so we'll adjust the budget accordingly. Second of all is a note that we did receive notice that the Trust for Public Land has signed the purchase agreement for the Big Elk Lake property, which is great. So now we'll proceed hopefully to closing here in the next couple of weeks. And we'll have more information for the board as we move into the next year. Also, correspondence I handed out to you is a copy of the letter that we sent to Governor Walz regarding our proposed rural safety and mobility interchange project at Highway 169 and County State Aid Highway 4. The request was to get that in, came from our lobbyists, and Chair Brandt was willing to sign that, so thank you. So there's a copy for you as well. And then just 3 quick calendar notes. Holiday party, just a reminder, is next Friday, the 16th of December. There are 2 seatings, so if you would let Keisha or me know if you are able to attend and which seating you would like to attend to, that would be great. Also a note that on the 20th, after the county board meeting at noon, we will be hosting a party to celebrate the service of Commissioner Brandt and Commissioner Schmiesing. That's going to be in the Emergency Operations Center. I will send out the electronic invitation so you can forward it to who you feel you would like to invite. And then also we do have postcards. So if you would like a postcard mailed, if you could just let Keisha or me know who you'd like them mailed to as well. And then last but not least, we are celebrating Chrissy's birthday today. So if you get a chance to say a happy birthday to Chrissy, she's upstairs and would sure appreciate the kudos. So that's it.
Well, thank you. Okay, now we can move on to open forum. Do we have anyone signed up?
Madam Chair, we have one person signed up.
Do you want to go ahead and read them?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission, and to the community. The purpose of the open forum section of the County Board meeting is to allow public input and/or information to be presented to the board that does not require action by the board. It is requested that speakers refrain from personal attacks of any kind against another person, commissioner, or employee. It is requested that speakers refrain from campaign-style presentations. The time limit is 3 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 5 speakers per open forum. The time limit may be shortened or extended at the discretion of the board chair. The open forum may also be continued following the conclusion of the regular board business meetings agenda items. It is requested that all input or information be addressed to the Board of Commissioners and not to members of the audience. Speaker handouts are considered public information, and the county may make copies of such handouts for the public if needed. Finally, the county board chair will ensure that the open forum policy is followed.
Okay, thank you. So who is our first person?
Our speaker is Chris Schwar of Zimmerman, and he'll be speaking and commenting to clarify the business petition.
Welcome.
Good morning. I'm Chris Schwab. My address is 14536 247th Avenue Northwest in Zimmerman. I was approved last month for an IUP for my business, working on motorcycles in my accessory building. Since then, there was a petition signed, put together by the neighborhood and signed. And I just kind of wanted to touch base on that a little bit. The claim on the petition is that, quote, 17 of the 19 petition properties in Harmony Village Development signed the petition to oppose the subject IUP, end quote. And upon reviewing the signed petition, there were some noticeable discrepancies. To start, there was only 15 signatures submitted on the petition, not 17. In addition to that, 5 of them were signatures of spouses counted as one signature on the petition. So, in other words, there were multiple duplicate signatures on 5 of the properties. That, to me, would mean that only 10 of the 21 properties in Harmony Village oppose of the IUP. Counting multiple people from a single property, to me, is not the fair representation of the neighborhood unless we were to count all of the adults living in each property and calculate them into the equation. For example, let's assume everyone in the neighborhood is married, which I'm pretty sure most of them are, and assume there's 2 adults per property. That would mean there could potentially be 42 petitioners as it stands now. If we count what was provided in the petition, that would mean 15 of the 42 potential petitioners oppose the IUP. That works out to be 36 of the potential petitioners that are in opposition of it, far below the 81% that they claim on the petition itself. So, yeah, to me that just seemed like kind of a big discrepancy that I'd like to comment on and clarify. So that's all I got for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were going to recess for the employee anniversary, but it's a little early, isn't it?
Yes, with the board's consent, we can start regular agenda items and start proceeding through those until 9:33.
Okay. So we will go ahead and go on to item 7.1, the regular agenda. And
Are we, Madam Chair, are we okay in terms of how is this advertised so that we're not,
Yeah, public hearings, we have to follow the specific time, but other agenda items can move up. If the board would like to shift agendas, it's within your purview as well.
okay, so we're okay dealing with these 10 o'clock items now?
okay, so Lynn, thank you.
My only concern,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, is if people had intended to come for the 10 o'clock item or others on there. I know there's always small print that says we can adjust.
Maybe we could do some of the ones that are more like HR, more focused on.
Yeah, we could actually start with Dan's outside in the hallway. We could do ARPA if the board would like to start with a different item.
I'd be more comfortable with that and move our way backwards possibly. There he is.
Okay, so,
And I'll call Tammy down while Dan's speaking to talk about the personnel policies.
Yeah, we can, if, like Lisa said, we can start with our proposed 2023 meeting schedule and work our way up.
Do we have a number for Dan? What item is that?
Number
He's
7.
7.7.
7.7.
Okay, we're there.
okay, and then after that, we can do the proposed schedule for next
Yep.
year on that 7.8?
Mhm.
Is that?
That's
what
just
you're
us
saying?
talking.
Yeah,
Did you want me to call Tammy down to do 7.6 as well?
probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so she has both 5 and 6.
Okay, Dan's at the podium, so he's ready to go.
Yeah, so,
Good morning,
thank you,
Commissioners.
Dan.
Good morning.
This week, excuse me, this week we have two biweekly expenditures under the $25,000 or $50,000 threshold. One is our business lab for new entrepreneurs. It's been very successful. We've had over 120 sessions so far, and we're looking for another one-year contract on that. And then IT has some cybersecurity needs that are in your agenda packet as well. So looking for approval of those two expenditures at a total of $31,000.
I will move approval of those, Madam Chair.
So is this for,
I will second.
okay, the motion's been made and seconded to approve, is it number 1, the biweekly expenses?
Correct.
Correct.
That are 31,000?
Yep.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Well, just we are requiring some of our folks to contact that business agency.
As part of the business grant that we did last year, we did require them to take a session, yes. And then it's part of our revolving loan fund too when they apply for that, yes.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
And next up, we have two expenditures over the $50,000 threshold, so I'm going to invite Amanda Larson up from HHS to talk about her request.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm coming before you today with a request for 2 healthcare eligibility specialists. Commissioner Schmeezing has long described some of the work that is a result of COVID as the bulge in the snake. During the federal public health emergency, which we are currently still in, there has been a federal pause on healthcare eligibility. So that means everyone continues to stay on healthcare during this as a result of COVID. Healthcare, unlike our food and cash programs, is counted by enrollee as opposed to the cash programs that are counted by cases or household. So pre-COVID, Sherburne had about 8 to 10,000 enrollees, and as of last month, November 8th, we have 20,721 healthcare enrollees in Sherburne County. When the public health emergency ends, which we are suspecting it will be called to an end in January, which means then we have 60 days afterwards to start renewing and determining eligibility. County workers will have to manually touch each enrollee. So we are having to verify if there has been any change in household composition. We will have to verify if there has been any change in financial circumstance. So if you think about that, every birth, marriage, death, divorce, every job change over these last 2.5 years, and then we'll have to touch base with that person and then also determine the eligibility. At a state level, the state knows this is coming, and they have been working for the last 10 months on a renewal self-service project. So that would be a portal that individuals could log in, any change of circumstance that they have, so they could self-report, and that income would come to the counties. However, like some other large-scale technology programs that the state has initiated, it hasn't been without error, and so it has now been pushed out until September 2023, well after the public health emergency will presumably end, and then also September will be right in open enrollment time next year. So counties are faced with the mammoth task of coming in March. You may remember that I did come before this board about 1.5 years ago asking for a healthcare eligibility specialist, knowing that this was coming. That person has not been sitting around. Our entire team has been in mandatory overtime for at least a few months because now we are working the cases that have doubled within our county. And then also right now we're in a period of open enrollment, and we also, through the statewide procurement process, have just had a change in one of our PMAPs. So what I am asking for is 2 full-time staff, ARPA funded. This would be for a time period of January 1st, 2023 until the end of 2024. Crossing our fingers, kind of a wish and a prayer that we're going to get through most of the bulge. But again, our work is heavily determinant on when the federal public health emergency ends. I will just note, because I know that when complaints come from residents, they often come to you and then are funneled through us. And actually, ironically, just 2 days ago, received another complaint on the website that our current hold time for people trying to reach an eligibility specialist is about 45 minutes. If somebody comes into the office, they are waiting in our office for more than 1 hour. It's completely unacceptable to us, but there's just not enough bodies to unfortunately answer the calls, the many calls that are coming. And so we're hoping that 2 more bodies can help us. We're still going to have long wait times, but we're hoping that it's not going to be this long. And so just wanted to know if anybody has any questions.
Amanda, can you give us a number on how many cases this involves for this process, roughly?
I don't, because again, healthcare is counted by enrollees and not cases. So if you're asking...
How many enrollees then?
Yeah, so 20,721.
That's our number that we
That's
have
our
to
number
physically
currently.
have our staff touch base with to get them updated in their files and stuff.
Verification, answering questions, reaching out. And as you probably know, healthcare notices are generated by the state and not the county.
Yes.
And a lot of times they don't always make sense. They're not easy to follow. And sometimes people receive multiple healthcare notices and they say different things. And so then they call the counties and then the work again falls on us.
Madam Chair.
Okay, yes.
This, Amanda, appears to be clearly a COVID-related
Absolutely.
and is clearly related to the ongoing emergency declaration that we're under, and we can argue about whether that should be going on or not, but it does continue. So it clearly meets the guidelines of what COVID is. So, but we are hiring permanent positions, and as I have asked for in the past, we need to very clearly be identifying that they are COVID positions, and the goal will be that through attrition, we will absorb those positions into staff. But that should be clear with everyone, and the board that's going to be here next year, and these chairs, that we have an agreement that we're going to move through this. And most likely, it will not, most likely, it should just fit right in. The rat should be through the snake, and we'll have people that will be retiring and moving on. So with that, I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion has been made and seconded to approve the request with Health and Human Services for 2 healthcare eligibility specialists. Is there any further discussion? Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the commission, with the board's permission, I was going to ask Amanda if she would address how other counties are dealing with this, because obviously the alarm bells are going off everywhere. And also just a note to Commissioner Schmiesing's point, we actually did recently trade out a public health staff person, partly because, as need goes down. So hopefully we will honor that commitment as well from a staff level. But would you address what other counties are doing, or what you're hearing?
Yeah, we're, counties know that it's coming. We're kind of on the inside track, if you will, because our economic supports manager, Gina Anderson, has been the only county representative as part of this renewal self-service group. Just to, again, talk about the complexity of it, that is required over the last 10 months. Her meeting every day with this renewal self-service group, twice a day. So it's been a huge burden on her. And so I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that they were told by the vendor that the soonest that they could get the very first iteration of this would be September. So since that time, she has been working within MAXA, which is our AMC affiliate, and some other association groups to get the word out. So I think it's kind of a shock for people who are just hearing it, and I don't know if it has really absorbed. Counties throughout the state are dealing with the double or whatever it looks like in their county, because all counties haven't been able to remove people from healthcare assistance. But I think that a lot of counties believe that something's coming. And so I don't know how they address. I think I did hear Anoka County just approved 8 new healthcare eligibility specialists, but that's the only specific county example I have, because really we don't have any other tools in our toolbox right now other than staffing, since the technology solution has been pushed out a year.
Right. And Madam Chair, by having staff working overtime, time and a half, I don't want to lose anybody through that process that is going to put us even farther behind, because we all know how hard it is to find the employees as it is. So this is what ARPA was designed to do, and hopefully the state will get that portal up and running, and it'll be hopefully more successful than the MNLARS process. But going forward, I think this is the right thing to do.
For mandatory overtime too, we are initiating an ARPA request to recoup some of those funds as well.
Yep.
All of those funds.
Yes.
Madam Chair, and I think this is good that we have been frugal with our funds, that we have some left. I mean, we have spent a lot of it, but we have not. I know there's other counties that have pushed it all out the door, and then as these issues come along, they're going to have to go to their taxpayers to cover it. So I'm glad that we've been careful in how we've done this, and Dan can tell us that he's got some left to work with, I'm sure. I hope.
All right.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Now we have IT firewall replacement.
Yeah, IT Director Brian Kammen's here to talk about a firewall expense.
Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board. Wanted to talk about the firewall replacement ARPA request. So 5 years ago, Sherburne County obtained a grant with the state of Minnesota to replace our firewall infrastructure. Since that time, we've continued to maintain and care for that. and it has served us well, but it is time for a replacement. With the ARPA funds, there is a cybersecurity element to ARPA funds that would allow us to pass the replacement costs onto that grant or funding source instead of the taxpayers of the county. So our request is for just shy of 400,000. We've obtained 2 quotes from different vendors, and we've utilized the state of Minnesota discounting with those vendors to ascertain a fair market price.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the firewall replacement request from ARPA funds. I think it's important that we,
I'll second.
A motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
So, thanks, Chair. So are we to assume that this is an every 5-year thing, or?
Yeah, in general, we plan for 5-year replacements on IT equipment, such as firewalls and computers and storage. So yes, it will be something the county will need in roughly 5 or 6 years in the future. So
And it's very important.
yeah.
yes,
super-
it is hugely important.
Very important to
Today,
keep it
yes.
strong.
Yes.
Well, and if I can add,
Yes,
the
go.
difficulty in finding cybersecurity insurance for counties and local governments and states, as far as that goes, has really gotten really tight. We really struggled with being able to provide coverage through MCIT this year. So maintaining your systems and doing a good job with protecting the data of the citizens of Sherburne County is a tall order, and I don't think it's going to be cheap. But not doing it will be way more expensive.
Yeah. I think Elk River just experienced a issue where they had a ransom software attempt. It
I
sounded like
believe
they,
that was the school
the school
district.
system.
School system, yeah.
So this just highlights how it is so super important that we keep these as strong.
Just one quick addition, since you brought that up, I think that's something you're going to be wanting to work on, is in some states, they've made it illegal for local governments, counties, school districts to pay ransom. And, until they go everywhere with it, they're finding that if you have a state that does it, they go where they can get it. So, that would be one way, so
Yeah.
you guys will get that done next year.
Well, and maybe, Chair, we'll have a consultant for us who knows MCIT so well.
Yeah.
Maybe a lobbyist, I
Studied
don't
all
know.
of this.
Could be a lobbyist, so,
Yeah, yeah.
No.
Any further discussion?
I was just going to say with the Elk River School District situation, it sounds like that they were confident because they had some strong security in place. They were able to minimize it to not a lot of, they overcame it without having to be shut down or anything. So strong firewalls are good investments.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you, County Board, Madam Chair.
Yeah,
Just one really quick update. The border-to-border grants are supposed to be announced this week, and that will impact what grants we bring forward on our second round of broadband grants that are paid through the ARPA fund. So hopefully in early January, I'll be bringing that item to you for discussion. Thank you.
you.
With the board's permission, Jacob and Jill are down here. We can do item 7.6, total rewards philosophy, and then break right after that. And so if the board's amenable, Tammy will do the introductions.
Okay.
Chair, County Board of Commissioners, I do want to call out that presentation will be about 10 minutes. So are we comfortable with that? Otherwise, we can
Well,
certainly resume after the.
As was supposed, as they said, it's
program.
10 minutes.
It's totally up to the board. I just was trying to honor Jacob and Jill being here, so.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
I don't want to keep people waiting either, though, in the staff cafe.
Yep.
so what is the board's,
We're good with breaking now if they're good with.
you can come back?
Yes,
Is that
we can.
okay? Thank you, thank you.
Thank
So then we will now recess to go to the employee anniversary recognition, which is in the cafe. And then if anyone here would like to join us, you certainly can do that. Well, we can reconvene our meeting, and my question is, should we start with 7.1? Okay. So, 7.1, consider and approve an interim use permit for home business in an accessory building motorcycle repair.
And before Lynn starts, I just want to note for the board that we did receive a letter and petition from some of the neighbors on Thursday of last week. This will be entered into the official record of decision, so it'll be part of that. And then for the community, the commissioners have received this and have been able to review it and read it. And so it will be part of their consideration of the interim use permit.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. And so we have before you, Chris Schwab is the property owner. It's a home business and accessory building. It's in Orac Township on 2.5 acres. It's in the General Rural District. Planning Commission at the November meeting recommended approval with the 10 conditions and the findings of fact. May I answer any questions for you?
Any questions?
Hang on. Find my place.
Madam Chair, I do have a couple of questions. What was the discussion, because I think we have to remember we are in a residential area as well, the discussion in regards to the days and hours of operation being basically 7 days a week from 8 to 9. I know that the applicant had stated that they do have a full-time job, so this would be a part-time situation. But what was the conversation by Planning Commission around the hours of 7 days a week from 8 to 9?
As I recall, because he did have a full-time job, Planning Commission, he said that he was only going to be doing 1 to 2 motorcycles, I believe it was a week. And so he wanted the ability to be able to work on them when he had availability.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Would anyone like to?
Chair Brent, just I'd like to just comment on, hearing from the neighbors, getting the petition, hearing kind of their side or their take on the story. I want to acknowledge that we got that as Administrator Messel did. Our current ordinance, I'm sorry, I have a cookie in my mouth. That was a mistake. I always get caught. I'm good. Thank you. Our current ordinance supports this, so that's what we have to go by, that our ordinance supports this. But do appreciate hearing the input from the neighbors, but since our ordinance supports this, it has gone through planning and zoning. We have all read the transcript, read the packet that came in, and appreciate the applicant being here, so.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
The motion's been made to approve the request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Well, I do have a comment. I mean, you are in a neighborhood, and I'm directing it towards the applicant, and I hope that after us going through this and going through the process and you getting this, that you'll work hard to mitigate and be a good neighbor, and there's feathers that are ruffled, but I think by working hard to try to mitigate that, you can get along with your neighbors and we can all make this work. Otherwise, it's just going to be an ongoing problem for you. It'll be an ongoing problem for them. So I just urge you to do that, so.
Yeah, and I concur with what Commissioner Schmeezing's comments are, having read through the application and read through the hearing process that happened at Planning and Zoning, and it seemed to be, you're fairly new to the neighborhood by about a year and a half. Reaching out to your neighbors, I think probably would have been really helpful, and I understand that you are you ride motorcycles, which is great. My husband and I have done that as well. But just remember, this is a residential neighborhood. One point I'm going to bring up in reading your application, I wanted to make sure that there's an understanding that I support being a small business owner myself with my husband. I support wanting to get to that point. I don't know if the growing your business when you're ready to do that and would love to see you go into the areas where a business should be. And so I was a little concerned when there were some comments that you might want to build a larger building in a residential neighborhood. So I just want to go on record that I think we have to start being a little careful when we'll go down those paths, because the whole idea of small home businesses is to get them to that next level and go into the areas where, I know in my community, we designed an I-4 area that is just perfect for what you're talking about, that would be right off of Highway 10. So those are just my comments I want to make, that we're very careful going into the future with the next step, and having it come out of residential neighborhoods in that idea. So just wanted to get that on record. And good luck.
Madam Chair?
As a comment.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, Commissioner Danielowski, to that point, if that is a desire of the board, I think we could add a condition that the interim use permit is only on the existing facilities, and therefore, if there is an expansion, it would have to go through the process again, and that point a determination could be made. If that's an interest of the board, then Commissioner Schmiesing would have to consider amending his initial motion. But I would just note, after discussing with the attorney, if that's how the board feels, that could be a condition you could consider.
I think there's already limits on this, isn't there?
Lynn, do you want to talk, or Tim, about the limits?
Yes, the applicant did put in their application, and we did mention in staff comments that the applicant would possibly want to build an 1,800 square foot building in the future. And in the attachment that shows the site plan, he showed the location where he may want to place that building if he chooses to do so. So that was brought up front, but it is up to the county board if they want to make it so that the IUP only applies to the current building, or whether or not it could apply to a future building. I'd also like to add that in this discussion, we might want to make sure the applicant's aware that the county does have an economic development program, and Dan Weber and Jessica, I believe it is, he could work with when he gets to the point where he wants to maybe move to a commercial or industrial area, and they may be very helpful to you to find an area and see what some different options are that may be available to you at that time.
If you would be open, Commissioner Schmiesing, to put it just on the existing building so we can address that issue down the road then?
I'd take that as a friendly, I'd make that an amendment, or change my motion. How do we need to do that?
You can accept it as a friendly amendment, and if the seconder accepts it as well, then it'll be part of the motion.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
So you're seconding it?
No, Ann seconded.
Oh,
No.
Rayan was the second. I was the
No, you
second.
were the seconder.
the
I
second.
just, the friendly,
Yeah.
I accept it.
yes, so it's been accepted as a friendly amendment to the motion.
So we're okay then with going ahead. Any more further discussion on this change? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
The next item is Knife River Corporation, North Central. This is on the Thomas Higgins property. They're requesting a negative declaration on the need for an environmental impact statement on the environmental assessment worksheet that was completed for an interim use permit for a future gravel mine operation. This is on 155 acres in the agricultural district and in the shoreline district of an unnamed tributary to the Elk River. So the Planning Commission did make a recommendation for a negative declaration on an EIS, and there's a resolution and findings in your packet.
Madam Chair, I'll move the negative declaration.
Your motion has been made to approve the negative recommendation. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
And the last item I have is Knife River Corporation, again, North Central, Higgins property. They're asking now for an interim use permit for a gravel mining operation. This would mine 90.62 acres of the 155 acres. Again, this is in the Ag District and in the Shoreland District of an unnamed tributary to the Elk River in Haven Township. Planning Commission recommended approval of the interim use permit with the 36 conditions listed in your packet and the findings of fact.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to approve.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we can move on to item 7.4, which is to consider and approve Great River Energy's Becker Ash landfill closure license. And we have Dave with us this morning.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Gabby's not here today, so you've got me.
Welcome.
So upon deconstruction of Great River Energy's energy recovery facility, their burner, Great River Energy commenced final closure of their Becker Ash landfill. And upon final closure, resulted in placement of a double composite cap to meet their liner requirements. And once their facility was done with all the final capping, they then move into their post-closure care period. So before you is a license that it's a 20-year term, which is their required post-closure care maintenance period. It references requirements in the PCA closure document that was issued, a few months ago, I think? Yeah, Cassie from GRE is here if you have any questions for GRE. That's it. So it meets all the requirements of our ordinance. And yeah, so staff recommends approval of this closure license.
Madam
Yes,
Chair,
go ahead.
a motion to approve?
Okay, a motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Well, I mean, I just add, I mean, all of this is highly regulated,
Yep.
right? I mean, so, and it's been in statute and it's been in agreements for a long time, so if we're to this point and we don't have what we need, we've failed a number of times along the way, so I'm very comfortable with this.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is passed.
Right, thank you.
Okay.
And with that, I'll just add that part of the requirements, staff does go out there. We'll continue with inspections to make sure that they're meeting their closure requirements. Yep, so just
Can
because
I-
they're closed doesn't mean that we're,
Not over.
it's not over.
It's never
Yeah.
over with a landfill. It's
What-
never over.
Just one question, though. What happens after 20 years?
Then the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency Commissioner will take a look at it. And under MPCA rules, the commissioner can extend the post-closure care maintenance, and the county as well under our ordinance can also consider extending that if it's determined that the facility is not, let's say there could be some impacts in the monitoring wells, or liner failure, or cap failure, or any number of reasons that would cause the county and/or the state to determine, no, we need to kick this down the road a ways.
And also, aren't they always looking for ways to repurpose the ash?
Jerry has looked at that, yes.
Yeah, I think I had heard at one time they had tried to incorporate it into maybe our asphalt there was other things that have come up along the way that maybe it could be used for this. So who knows in 20 years what kind of repurposing, what it could be used for. People are always looking for innovation. Just a comment. It doesn't have to have an answer.
We'll see.
No.
All right,
Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
Yep. Okay, now we can move on to item 7.5, revisions to Sherburne County rules and personnel policies. Tammy, thanks for coming.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, County Board of Commissioners. So I have a list of proposed revisions to our Sherburne County rules and personnel policies. If it's okay with you all, I will focus on the substantive changes. Certainly, if you have any questions as I go through them or any of the changes, just interrupt me and let me know. As mentioned in the RBA, a large majority of the proposed changes really are cleanup in nature. I've been trying to tackle that annually to streamline our policies. The substantive changes, a couple of them are related to a 2004 county board action for our property maintenance technician staff. Back in the day, the goal was to treat those employees same or similar as correction officers because that's where they work. So over time, with turnover in HR and with payroll, I've had the concern that that RBA is going to get lost. So I propose to incorporate that into our personnel policies. So actually, the first two here, and on Chapter 6, work schedules and hours of work, and the property maintenance holiday benefit, those really actually aren't changes. It's just incorporating them into policy. We've been doing that since 2004. Okay.
Housekeeping, good idea.
Yeah. Moving on, proposed change to our personal leave language. Currently, when we have an employee who is exhausted his or her FMLA, and the department head has also approved 30 days additional unpaid leave, our current policy reads that additional requests would go to the County Board of Commissioners. The proposed change would be that those unpaid personal leaves beyond 30 days be approved by both the department head and HR director to minimize the chance of bringing private medical data to a public county board meeting. Moving on, a couple changes to our FMLA language. Proposed change to remove language stating if both parents and spouses are county employees, that they may only take a combined total leave of 12 weeks under FMLA. HR has learned that FMLA regs actually do not allow us to limit FMLA leaves for birth or adoption of a child when county employees, if they're both parents, are not married, but FMLA regs do allow it if they are married, which is interesting. Keep in mind FMLA regs went in place in 1993. Perhaps they need to be updated on the federal level, but HR recommends to remove the language in its entirety. So all county employees are treated the same in this situation regardless of marital status. And we have the right as an employer to do that. I'll pause there. I had a couple looks. Any questions?
I mean, to me, it just seems like, and I imagine the federal government, they're looking for a substantive way to link those people together. A marriage certificate, rather, gender doesn't matter, and that would do that. So I don't know if they're gonna find another way, or otherwise you could just find another person. We're going on co-FMLA together. Maybe that's what we want, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but that's, I would guess, you think that is a little bit the thought behind it, or am I way off base as usual?
Not off base. I think that was the thought at the time. But they did link it to married individuals, and sometimes we do have individuals that are not married,
Right.
legally married, and they're still both county employees. Okay. Another revision to our FMLA language would be to, currently we allow when an employee is on an FMLA leave to retain up to 40 hours of paid time off or PTO. After a legal review of our policy, it was recommended that we allow a total of 40 hours of PTO and or compensatory time. So it's still just 40 hours, but it could be a combination of those two time off buckets. Paid parental leave, HR's been administering paid parental leave since January of 2022. Overall, it's going really well. We do recommend revising language. Right now, the policy says that the paid parental leave would immediately follow birth or adoption of a child. We recommend removing that word immediately to allow more flexibility for the employee. Also, an employee has the option to take FMLA for birth or adoption of a child within 12 months of the event, and this would coincide with that. And then last but not least, this injury on duty wage supplement, specifically within the sheriff's office. You all approved that October 4th, 2022 as part of a resolution. This is again trying to incorporate language within our personnel policy so it doesn't get lost, with turnover. So the language proposed is exactly what was approved by you all in October. And then of course I've got tons of cleanup changes. But I will pause right now, and please let me know if you have any questions or concerns.
Madam Chair, I think it's good that these get gone over occasionally just to make sure, and your thought to put it in if this been approved, but yet didn't get into the body of the document is a great idea, because this is the book that gets continued to be passed on.
Yes, I agree. I think we had a speaker at the conference that would tell us that if we don't keep this accurate and up to date, it becomes a weapon against us.
Yes.
So if it's something that we can't follow, pretty soon we are paying a price for not keeping it up to date, so. I'll move approval.
I'll second.
So a motion's been made and seconded to approve the changes and revisions for the county rules and personnel policies. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you for doing that, too.
Thanks. I think I have the next agenda item
Yes, you
as
are.
well.
Consider approval of Sherburne County Total Rewards Philosophy.
So during our recent conversations with strategic planning, and as you all know, you approved the Sherburne County 2021 to 2023 strategic plan recently. There was a lot of discussion on fostering organizational excellence, which is our pillar 5. One of those pieces is, Sherburne County striving and aspiring to be the employer of choice. So back in spring of 2022, we discussed at a workshop the need for the county to develop a total rewards philosophy. And we started that project with our partner Gallagher, I want to say April, May-ish of 2022. And at the time, my goal was to bring to you something to consider and hopefully approve by year end, which is why I'm here today. I'm going to invite Jill Weger and Jacob Macy up here to present to you an overview of the process that took place and then also the recommended total rewards philosophy. Both Jacob and Jill were instrumental in helping Gallagher facilitate meetings comprised of multiple employees representing multiple departments. So really excited to share this information with you today.
Welcome.
Okay. Good morning, board.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right. I'm sure I know how this works. Where do I aim it, Keisha?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, I skipped it ahead. All right, so talking about our total rewards philosophy that we put together. So total rewards is the framework that sets the intention, direction, and guidelines of the total rewards program. It's the foundation that informs and supports decision-making, employment brand, and the county's mission values as they relate to employment, employee retraction and intent, retention, can't talk, sorry. Total rewards is a mix of pay, benefit choices, career development, culture, rewards, and recognition that is reflected throughout our demographics here at the county. Total rewards compel and inspire employees to provide an organization with their time, knowledge, energy, and loyalty. So in developing this philosophy, our committee looked at 3 different data components. They were the engagement survey that went out last year, the Better Works assessment that was sent out to leadership earlier this year, and then demographics throughout the county. We looked at the themes from the results of those surveys and things. Themes were community, career development, comp and benefits. And then we put it on the Total Rewards Committee to come up with this Total Rewards philosophy that Jacob's going to talk about next.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Obviously, as you can see here, I mean, some of the things that we kind of came up with from that survey, from talking to the employees, some of the strengths and opportunities for the county and things that we can offer to our employees. Number one, obviously, we're looking at a sense of community here. A lot of our employees express a lot of pride in their work and what their department does. So that was something we definitely wanted to focus on moving forward. Career development, that's something that, you know, from the bottom to the top, every department, every team seems to really embrace the idea of career development here in one way or another, promoting from within, trying to develop our talent here and retain them here. And then compensation and benefits, obviously we wanted to focus on that because aside from, you know, that's important to our employees, it's also important to applicants out in the rest of the world. So, you know, the dollars and the benefits, that really helps draw people in at times, on top of everything else that we can offer here. So when we put together a committee, we asked for volunteers from department heads, and basically they kind of guided the conversations to their departments from there. A good number of the committee members were just straight up volunteers that just wanted to help out, and some were kind of voluntold by the department heads. But either way, no matter how they ended up on the committee, everybody who was there did participate in every meeting and all the conversations. So it ended up being a great working group as we developed everything. We had 3 meetings over the course of 3 months, basically one every 4 or 5 weeks or so. And really, it was just a lot of open and honest conversations, talking about what's important to them. We asked them to go back to their teams, kind of talk to their teams a little bit about what's important to, you know, the people they work with. And we really wanted to be realistic as we developed a philosophy and a program to make sure that it kind of balances what the departments do now as well as what they're trying to aspire to be in the near future. So the number one thing, I believe you got this in front of you guys with your agenda items. So the philosophy that we came up with, Sherburne County, providing for and supporting the people that serve our community, opportunity, purpose, belonging, and stability. So basically what we're hoping this would be is kind of like a opening tagline, if you will, trying to explain kind of what Sherburne County is, what we offer to our employees. Number one, to keep our people here. Number two, to draw people in. And then also kind of, in a way, just be a broad guiding point for going forward for all of our departments, if that kind of makes sense. As you'll kind of notice there, opportunity is the first one listed there. We did that intentionally because a lot of the kind of marketing materials that we have even now is Sherburne County Opportunity Awaits. So we really wanted to kind of pass on what we've been working with and then just kind of add a few things here and there going forward. The full philosophy statement, which kind of elaborates on what we just talked about, you know, Sherburne County as a thriving organization fueled by people passionate about serving our community. Sherburne County strives to support and engage employees through investments in competitive compensation and equitable benefits, a culture that promotes physical and emotional well-being, opportunities for professional growth, and a sense of honor and purpose. Which this kind of sentence right there, we as a committee spent a lot of time here making sure that all the Ts were crossed, all the Is were dotted, and that everybody is really on board deliberately with the language chosen. And honestly, the committee was, unfortunately, there's not many people here. It's just Jill and I from the committee. The rest of them were unable to make it today, but they were very, very proud of coming up with this. So very happy with this so far. And then lastly, kind of going back to the first section I talked about with the four kind of themes, we did elaborate on those four, and that's obviously what you see here now. So for an opportunity standpoint, what we're looking at, we're committed to supporting the growth and development of our employees. We're proud to offer internal advancement opportunities, formal performance evaluations, and tuition reimbursement. We aspire to be an environment where the voice of our employees is heard and innovation is embraced. From a purpose standpoint, this is honestly probably the one we settled on first, just because so many of our employees strongly believed in a sense of purpose here. Our dedicated employees are proud and honored to provide essential services critical to the health, safety, infrastructure, and economic success of our thriving and growing county. The sense of purpose and mission is a driving force and motivation for our employees. Belonging, we foster respect and appreciation between colleagues, embrace a wide range of backgrounds and talents, and are committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Continually evolving, we are cultivating a fulfilling work environment. And then lastly, stability. It's very important to our employees here of how stable of a job this is, and especially compared to a lot of private industry jobs. That is something that sets us apart. Hoping to draw some people in there too as well. But from a stability standpoint, our organization maintains a competitive pay structure, equitable benefits, retirement plans, paid holidays, PTO, flexible work arrangements where possible, on-site health clinic, modern facilities, and a culture committed to supporting physical and mental wellness. Kind of touched on already, and I know we've talked a little bit about this, at least Lisa and Barb, you guys were at a smaller committee meeting that we were at a while back, but this is number one to really put I guess a guiding point for a lot of our departments going forward from a standpoint of retaining employees, from drawing talent in. We're hoping to use some of this in marketing materials going forward at job fairs, online, wherever, to, again, try to draw people in. Maybe it's Amanda left, but her 2 new employees that you guys have approved today, right? Maybe this will help find some people there, but we're really just hoping that this can really help the Sherburne brand going forward, if that kind of makes sense.
So as Jacob mentioned, this was presented to the Executive Steering Committee, and that committee also recommends approval of this philosophy statement. So that's what we are seeking here today.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, I just wanted to comment, I think that we are so on the right course here. I had the honor to attend an event yesterday, Willow Sweeney, and was able to, she had us break into groups of 3 through the process, and I was able to meet one of our newer employees that has come from Morrison County, and she could not say enough how much she is enjoying working here at Sherburne County and the difference between what she, experienced, and nothing against Morrison County, but I think we're hitting what we want to do. And also looking into and asking our employees, as we look for, we have younger employees coming up, and they're not always motivated by the same things in rewards that I might look at. It isn't always about the pay, it's about other things. And that came through at our conference that we just attended, how you make sure that you stay and listen and hear what it is that the needs of your employees are and work to address them. So I think this is just awesome, and I'm so happy to see it, and that we are wanting to be the employer of choice, because that matters in a very competitive environment that is not going to get any less competitive. It's going to continue to get harder. So thank you guys for all your work. Please thank the committee for all that they put into it. I mean, I'm just so honored to be able to represent Sherburne County and all of our employees. We're so thankful for.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Anyone like to make
I'll make a motion to approve the Sherburne County Total Rewards philosophy.
is there a
Madam Chair,
second?
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the Sherburne County Total Reward Philosophy. Is there any further discussion?
Just thanks, Chair Brandt. I was part of Executive Steering Committee, so I've heard this before, and I think I spoke highly of this at that meeting, and similar to what Rayanne is saying, after being at the AMC conference and being with all different counties and hearing workshops on retention and retaining employees, I think this is just critical right now to create this type of culture. So really appreciate the work gone into this. I think it's worthwhile for our employees and all of us and our community. So thank you.
And Madam Chair, I know that this is a continuing, ongoing process. It isn't just, this is it and now we're done. It's going to be continuing to have to be refreshed, updated, continually listening, even as far as getting into our benefits packages and such. There's things out there that we view as, well, this is what what we want for benefits. Well, there's other things as well, and we have to make sure we're listening.
Yes, and I want to just mention that before I retired from my healthcare position, we were doing this kind of thing, and it's really blossomed since I left and I just know this is a good strategy, and that I'm so pleased that we're doing this. So,
Well, I'm going to be unemployed soon. Where can I pick up an application?
We'll find a place for you, Felix.
okay, I think with that, we can ask for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Thank you
Maybe
so much.
risk management.
Thank you
Felix. How's
again.
that sound?
There we go. Yeah, there you go. All right. Put me at the front desk. That would chase them.
Can we vote on that?
Okay, now we can go ahead to item 7.8, and that is for the review and consideration of the proposed 2023 board meeting schedule and set the January 2023 meeting dates and times. And we have Bruce who's going to lead us through that.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Yeah, today's action item is specifically to request you approve our advertising of the first two meetings in January so that we meet the statutory requirements. That would be the required organizational meeting, January 3rd, which is Tuesday at 9 a.m., and then what we call a normal business meeting on January 17th, also at 9 a.m. So that would be hopefully the motion today once you get done with your discussion. The other informational piece is just to show to you the proposed calendar, which obviously the board in January will change and or adopt. And we have two of our commissioner-elects here, and Commissioner-elect Hulls is actually texting and emailing right now looking at it. So what we thought we would do is just spend a few minutes and talk about the proposed calendar. You're not asked to approve it today, but just to give you information, get some initial feedback, and then more importantly is just to get the permission from you to advertise the first two meetings in January. The one thing I would note in discussion with the commissioner-elects, I've not heard a significant conversation about changing the meeting days or dates, but at least one of the commissioner-elects has raised the question of potentially an evening meeting. So I just want that on the board information, FYI schedule that I assume in January, or even if there's discussions before, that might come up as something that the future board may want to discuss. So with that, I'll turn it over to Keisha and ask her to go through the calendar and the logic or the method to the madness of what we put together. Again, information only, feedback's great, but we just want to get you thinking about next year. And also then for our two commissioner-elects here, they'll do the same.
So as you'll see listed in the background, just our background information of why we picked the pattern that we did. It actually went pretty similar to last year. None of the conferences really butted up too close to our meetings. Same with our holiday closures for the government center. So on this master calendar, you will see everything that we have going on that we are aware of as of now for 2023. The highlighted in yellow are scheduled county board meetings proposed, and the conferences that we have seen that have been scheduled for 2023, as well as holidays in pink. And we have also tentatively scheduled the budget workshops you'll find outlined in red, and then the tentative TNT meeting outlined in blue. And again, the conferences are highlighted in green. We did stick with the first and third with the one meeting in July and shifting the first meeting in December to Thursday like we did this year too. My question for you would be what you feel like, and I know this is just something to think about for when we have further discussion on this in January, but if you're okay with the date that we selected in July, as there are quite a few, it'll be 3 weeks between the meetings. And then we're left with only a week between the following. My thoughts for why I decided on the 18th is if we had the meeting on the 11th, that means we would have to kind of scram together to get that packet put together for you in time. And depending on what you guys had going on for the 4th of July, as far as if you're going to be out of town, if you guys would have enough time to review that proposed packet. Next is just a list explaining what conferences will be held on those days that you see highlighted on those calendars. There was a little bit of shift in some of these as I think it's the Leadership Summit was usually March into April. It is all in March this year. And then some of the other conferences moved up just a few days. But they followed the same trends as they did last year as well. And then this is just a bigger idea of what our schedule would look like. I did mark what ones we would have the Community Health Board on and the Ditch Authority on as well. And then the tentative Truth and Taxation and Budget workshops in August. And with that, we're open to any questions.
I don't really have any questions. I think obviously we'll look at this again in January. And the only one that I think I'll kind of put some thought into is that July meeting, and appreciate the input as far as the effect on staff and the packet and things like that. But historically and kind of in this work that we do, July tends to be a lighter month with some of our committee meetings and things like that. So yeah, I will wrestle with that one a bit.
Yeah, I think we'll have a good conversation like Commissioner Phobie said with when everybody is on board in January and work through this. I think right now we're looking at approving to advertise the 2 meetings in January for the 3rd and the 17th. And I would make that motion to approve the advertising of those 2 meetings for January.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
The motion's been made and seconded to approve the 2 meetings in January for posting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
And then just a note in terms of timing, we're pretty much on schedule, but I would note that our guests are here already, so depending on the board's countenance, just know that you don't have to wait until 11:15 to start, as our presenters are here.
Okay.
And that's for the Regional Rail Authority.
Should we then go ahead with the commissioner correspondence and just
Shouldn't
finish
take
our
long.
meeting and then go ahead and, okay, thank you. Would anyone like to start with the commissioner correspondence?
I'll start this time, Madam Chair. I attended annual conference the last 3-4 days, so that's my report. There were some MCIT meetings that I attended while I was there. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Ready?
I have a number of them. Great River Regional Library Finance Committee meeting, a Great River Regional Library Board meeting, that'll be the last of our year. The county canvassing meeting.
Oh, that's right. I did
Felix
that
was
too.
also there. Please add that to Felix's. I'll give you the rest of his list, okay? Sherburne County Soil and Water Volunteer Appreciation Dinner really was great at Lupulin. We celebrated our volunteers. The Sherburne County Extension Committee, glad to hear that while we're losing Barb at this dais, Barb is going to be staying on the Extension Committee as a community rep, so really appreciate that with her passion for extension. Had 2 legislative briefings. Great River Regional Executive Committee. We had a 169.4 project open house up in Zimmerman with lots of community members coming out, and had some very robust conversations about the 169.4 overpass. Had a Rum River One Watershed One Plan meeting. Futures planning meetings. I have a futures meeting in February coming up. The Truth in Taxation hearing that Felix was also at. The AMC conference these last 3 days, which was great to network, to learn some ideas about different things that we might want to consider. The breakout sessions were very good. It was one of the best conferences I feel like we've had. I mean, COVID was a big bump in conferences for all of us, but the choir, we had the most people involved in the choir this year, and to be able to celebrate Felix was just a highlight. So it was a great conference. And that is it.
All right, I attended my SEP coalition meeting, also attended the township board meeting, had an EDA meeting on November 17th, and we have a board member who is stepping off, but we've already had a replacement fill that spot out of Zimmerman. So that was good to hear. And also had my Tri-County Solid Waste meeting up in St. Cloud. We did approve an extra 2% to go towards Pope Douglas in regards to the cost of that program. Attended the Sherburne Soil and Water Conservation District Appreciation Dinner at Lupulin, as Lisa mentioned. November and December, typically I have APO meetings, but they do not meet unless needed for November and December. November 28th, attended my options board meeting. November 30th, had the Central Mississippi River Partnership meeting, otherwise known as CMRP, and we're making great headway there in regards to moving towards going through the purpose and needs process and stuff, and we will be seeing some kind of an agreement between the 2 counties to look at and approve coming up in the beginning of the year. And that is all work towards going to finding another location for a bridge connection. Alternative transportation opportunity. Also met with a landowner with an issue, and Bruce was gracious enough to assist with that one. December 1st had the County Road 83 open house. That's a road project that is much needed to be done. Had a lot of participation from different residents that live along County Road 83 that connects between County Road 43 and County Road 15. And so a lot of good feedback there that I know that Public Works will take into consideration as they continue to plan that project. Also, it had the County Truth and Taxation hearing. December 2nd, attended a harassment training that was put on by our county attorney, and always just a really good half-hour update on, just a refresher on what to do and what to be cautious of. December 4th through the 7th, also attended the AMC conference, and I can not agree more with Lisa. The breakout sessions were so informative and so timely, and just being able to meet a lot of the incoming commissioner-elects that were able to attend. There's 80 of them coming in, and which means there's 80 that have either retired by choice, or as one commissioner said, that they were retiring due to health reasons. And when you ask, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, what's wrong? The voters were sick of me. So that was good to hear that, like I said, it's hard to say goodbye to colleagues, but it's always fun to be able to meet and interact with the new county commissioner-elects coming in. And I hope they got as much out of the conference as we do always. So also was able to attend the Willow Sweeney event yesterday. And that was really a great 3-hour, just so good to see someone that can come in and help you deal with things and help staff and our employees and stuff. And it was so engaging, and everybody was just responding so well and positively. So I'd like to see those kinds of things happen. I think they really benefit our organization. And also then attended to some other numerous residents' questions and such. So that's it.
Okay. And on the 16th, there was a TZD, was Towards Zero Death Training video that I watched, and that evening was the Fair Board meeting. On the 17th, in the morning, we had a MDT meeting, and in the afternoon, there was the Soil and Water Conservation Appreciation event, and also after that, I went to the PAC here. And on the 21st, there was the extension meeting, and on the 23rd, we went to the funeral for Roger Nelson, who was one of our active people in this county with many different things. And then on the 30th, there was the regular TZD meeting, and also that evening was the Rum River One Watershed One Plan I watched on video. And on the December 1st, there was the CAMI meeting, and later on the Healthy Partnership meeting in Minnesota. And in the evening was toward TNT meeting here. And then on the 3rd, I was at the Legion. Every other month I've been meeting with the Legion along with Mayor Dietz. And I think that's it.
Chair, if I can add a few, just so I get all my credits this year, it's important. Also, the EDA meeting, Tri-County Solid Waste, which in a year, nothing has changed. I felt like I was at the same meeting I was at in Alexandria a year ago.
Kind of like a soap opera?
Uh-huh. And the harassment training, which was so well done by our county attorney's office. So,
Commissioner Phobie, would any of those need to be added to Felix's?
no, Felix wasn't at any of those. Thanks for asking.
Nice shot, though.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, can I make one more comment that I forgot to mention? When down at the conference, we were able to honor our outgoing commissioner, Felix Schmiesing. And I'm going to try to do this without choking up. But anyways, it was so incredibly amazing to see. And he is going to be so missed at this board table. But it was so amazing to see the sign of someone who is really respected and honored truly comes from his family. And to see the family that came out, and this was all unbeknownst to Felix, he had no clue this was happening. And the amount of his family, down from his wife, his sisters, his brother, his kids, his grandchildren, although they did get a day out of school, but I think they would have done it anyways, to come down and recognize the accomplishments of him and all of the staff that were able to come down. The stage was filled. I think the comment was made that we definitely tested the load limit of that stage. And it's just a testament to what a wonderful man he is. Thank you.
If you want, Keisha, did you get my email? We have a link, if you will indulge 3 minutes. It's up to the board, otherwise we can run it at break, but Keisha's gonna put it on.
Yeah, because I do want to say, without your family supporting you in this role, it is a tough job to do. And the testament of Felix's family just shows you, you need to have your family behind you, and he has a great family behind him.
And we have all benefit from it.
Yes.
Which I'm so grateful for.
Find it.
Is this the going away party today?
You have to run it on the screen though.
We gotta
so.
save this for next meeting,
Yeah,
too.
and I did say something that I think we need to really, you know those little bracelets that people wear? And it usually says WW something. I want to have one made for us that says WWFD. What would Felix do? And we need to
do something
remember
else.
it all the time.
So now you know what not to do.
We'll pull it up after break, so before we start the Regional Rail Authority, you guys can watch it here, so.
Okay,
Okay.
so, so then we can adjourn our regular meeting. And do you want to take a short break? 5 minutes? Okay.
Can we take 5?
And so we will convene then at 11:05, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to Before we reconvene, should we do this? and
Yes, let's do.
Just consider this on.
For almost 30 years. With deep roots as a lifelong resident of the community, this commissioner still lives on the property where they were raised. This commissioner served on more than 40 committees with a particular focus on economic development, broadband, and public safety. In recent years, as politics have grown more polarized, this commissioner has been an outspoken advocate of keeping local government elected positions nonpartisan. I share that passion. In fact, this commissioner has spoken to newly elected officials at the County Government 101 training on this topic. This commissioner understands the power of conversation and communication as tools for progress and improvement. This commissioner is known for having a sense of humor as well as making sound and thoughtful decisions for the citizens. In one of his many opportunities to serve as the county board chair, he thanked his fellow commissioners for the nomination and said, "I'll do the best I can. Hopefully you'll all survive." He's also a humble leader, having stated that much has been accomplished by my county, but not by me. Only with the cooperation and support of a county board that works together and a dedicated, hardworking staff that supports us are we able to serve the citizens of our county. Outside of government, he's run a trucking company. He's been a poultry farmer. Found time to be an active member of his local Lions Club for more than 35 years and has been a lifelong member of St. Marcus Catholic Church. He understands the meaning of community and what it takes to preserve its values. This commissioner served on the AMC board, but is perhaps best known for his 15 years of service on the MCIT board of directors, where he has served as the chairman for the past 4 years. He'll be retiring at the end of this year, and I'm sure he's looking forward to spending more time cooking for family and friends, golfing, going on fishing trips, cutting wood, and traveling to see family in New York and Florida. It is again indeed my honor to recognize the impact that this Sherburne County Commissioner has had on Minnesota counties by presenting Felix Schmiesing with the AMC President's Award.
And he didn't think he was electable. I think from what you can see, there's only one thing to add: prolific. This is friends. I use humor as a shield. There's got to be some mistake. I can't, there's no words that I can say that would cover my appreciation for this. The honor has truly been mine. The opportunity, the chances that being elected have given me, the opportunities you have given me to be somebody has been incredible and a remarkable ride. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that was
Deserved.
wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you for showing it.
Well, I'll just add that, you know, I received a lot of congratulations after after that. And one common theme, as they shook my hand and said, "Yeah, you did okay, Felix," was how impressed they were by the parade of family, friends, and county staff that took the time to go up there. I think, you know, I think for the people in the room, that was very impressive, and I don't think they've probably ever seen a showing in those numbers before, so they really, I think there were a lot of wet eyes in the room with the support that came for me, so enough about all that.
Let's talk North Star, your favorite subject.
Okay, so now we will reconvene and we'll open the Regional Rail Authority meeting. And we will start with approval of the authority agenda.
I'll move approval.
Is anybody want to second that? Motion's been made. Can you second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Now we can move on to approve the regional rail meeting minutes for September 6th.
Move approval, Madam Chair.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed. Okay, now we can turn it over to Andrew.
Just a little side note, in our RBA, it reads 2002, so just might feel like we're in 2002, but it's 2022. So, thank you.
All right, our apologies. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. We're back again this year for an update on North Star Commuter Rail, our 2022 service, as well as looking forward to 2023. I think you'll see maybe a common theme from years past. The last couple of years has been, you know, feeling a little bit like constant change in this matter, and you'll see that again moving forward into 2023 with some anticipated increased ridership and increased service to go along with that. And then following the presentation by Met Council and Met Transit here, we would ask that you consider the subordinate funding agreement for 2023 after receiving the information and having an opportunity to ask whatever questions and comments you may have. So with that, I will turn it over to both Ed Petrie and Tony Aubert to present the 2022 recap as well as 2023 moving forward.
Welcome.
Good morning, Chair, Committee members. Ed Petrie, Director of Finance, Metro Transit, and
Tony Abair, Director of North Star Commuter Rail.
we have an update on North Star. I'll have Tony do an update on operations, what we've been doing, those types of items. I will then give you an update on 2022 and what we're thinking about for 2023 operations. So Tony, I'll turn it over to you.
Hey, good morning. Before I get started, Felix, congratulations and good luck in the future. North Star, as you know, we've been going through a lot the last couple of years. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Service is doing well under the circumstances. We continue. As you know, we're operating with 4 trips a day, 100% on time. Passengers, our count is going up a little bit, and that'll go into that a little bit more as we go on. Overall, the spirit up there is going well, and we're looking for a whole lot more in the future with the North Star, and everything is going very well for us so far, and hoping for better. As far as any maintenance updates, we're doing some minor upgrades to the platforms, over wear and tear throughout the years that we've been in service. So we're doing some paver replacements, and some of the mini highs, stuff like that, are getting wear and tear from the salt that we have, and dealing with the winter. That's going on. We've done some minor repairs to the shops as far as heating upgrades and adding informational boards, not only within the shop, but out on the platform, trying to update that to get to provide better information to the customers. So overall, like I said, I don't have a whole lot to update on it, but we're doing well. Everything's going well. Service levels, and Ed will talk about that more. We're looking and planning to increase service for next year. And with that, I will open it up for any questions you might have for me and then pass it on to Ed.
Anybody have questions?
Ed is going to talk about schedule, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Ed is going to talk about schedule and what it is. Okay, then we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, first of all, Commissioner Smeezing, I just wanted to tell you, congratulations, but it's also been a pleasure. We've worked on North Star for many, many years together, and it's been a pleasure working with you. I really appreciate it and appreciate your support. Okay, I will go into some information on North Star and on the financial side. I'll do a little recap. I'll talk about 2022 operations, go into 2023, and I'll give you some information on how ridership is looking for both North Star, but overall our whole system and some of the challenges we've had. As Tony mentioned when he first started, the fact is the last couple of years have been a challenge that no one ever anticipated would ever come. It's been a challenge for us. 2022 has reflected continued work on COVID operations. What that means is basically we are running right now 2-trip service, or 2 trips morning, 2 trips evening, no weekend, no special event service. One of the things that we are doing though also is, if you recall, we were recipient of some federal relief funds. We are using those federal relief funds on the bus, light rail system, commuter rail system, Metro Mobility to help to offset the ridership declines, additional maintenance and those types of items that we are spending for cleaning, maintaining shelters, stations, those types of items. That is being paid for by federal funds. And also the loss in ridership, what we're doing is we're comparing ridership and revenues that we're generating today compared to the pre-COVID level in 2019. And we're then filling that gap with the federal dollar. So we're very fortunate and very happy to have received those federal dollars. Ridership as of September, ridership on the month of September was about 7,300 rides, 56,000 rides year to date. Average ridership, we're at about 350 rides or 175 passengers a day compared to pre-COVID levels of about 2,800. We are down about 88% from the historical levels. One of the things that we also do is I just want to let you know, we watch ridership on a weekly basis. We're comparing ridership on a weekly basis and also compared to the prior year. Let you know, even though ridership is down historically, about 88%, has come back about 12%. Compared to 1 year ago, if I compare November year-to-date 2021, or 2022 versus 2021, North Star ridership is up about 55%. So even though they're small numbers, we're seeing the ridership slowly start to come back. So we know, the people are out there. The potential is out there. Overall, our system compared to 1 year ago, our bus system is up about 19. The light rail system is up about 15. But North Star has seen the largest increase, about 55%. Current forecast right now is of September. We're forecasting we will have a surplus of about $3 million. It's due to the fact that we have not run as much service as what was originally budgeted. So there will be a refund to Sherburne County at the end of the year. As I had mentioned, we are using federal relief funds to offset the ridership decline. That will also continue into 2023. And as I mentioned, we do have the savings of operating the 2 trips per weekday. Moving forward though, ridership. Right now the ridership for 2022 is forecasted at about 76,000 rides. We should come very close to that in 2022. Next year we're budgeting 143,000 rides. So our budget has about a 20% increase for next year, or 20% recovery next year into our budget. So we're forecasting it right now next year at 143. Moves us into 2023 operations. As I mentioned, it does include the continued use of federal funds for the COVID impact. Once again, looking at the loss in fare revenue and additional cleaning that we are doing on the North Star line. The proposed budget right now for 2023 would be 8 trips, which would be 4 weekday trips, morning, 4 afternoon, no weekends, but would include special event service. We are working with the, one of the things that I do have the point here that we'll continue to monitor ridership, monitor demand, and to determine if that 4 trips in, 4 trips out, meet the demand, or if we have to make some adjustments during the year. One of the things I do want to just mention that, this is all predicated on receiving agreements with the respective counties. Hennepin County took theirs to their 2023 agreement to their board, and it was approved. MnDOT has approved their grant agreement for 2023 operations. I have been in contact with Anoka County. They've stated that they're going to take it to their board in January. So that's where I just want to let you know where the respective boards are. If we can get agreement with everybody, with all boards, our plan would be to move up to the 4 trips morning, 4 trips afternoon in 2023. As I mentioned, the ridership budget would be 143,000 rides. It's about a 20% of pre-pandemic levels. We'll continue to use the federal funds and any use of one-time funds and reserves to move us forward while we're rebuilding the system. One of the things that we've realized, just want to let you know that it's across our whole system. It's like the analogy, like the one baseball movie, if you build it, they will come. The fact is, if you bring the service back, the ridership will come back. We also realize that on the bus system, if you provide the opportunity, provide the frequency, people will then realize that this is a viable option for them. They will then rejoin the system, whether it's bus, light rail, commuter rail. And so, that's one of the things that I feel very strongly about is bringing the service back, bringing the levels back. It'll provide more opportunities for people in the morning or people in the afternoon. And plus the big thing is bringing the special event service back. Because the special event service is kind of I hate to call it a training ground, but it's technically a training ground. People will get on the train for special events. They'll ride it to the Twins game, we'll ride it to the Vikings game, and they're going to realize, I was also a North Star rider, and realizing how nice the ride is, how comfortable the ride is. And they will then realize that, this is a viable option possibly versus taking Highway 10 in every morning. So that's where, I feel like I'm trying to sell it, but it's very important to bring the service back, and I'm hoping we can get agreement with all the funding partners for the 2023 operations. What that brings us to then is a budget for 2023. It's about a $17 million budget. You can see on the revenue side, we have Sherburne County and MnDOT's contribution. It's $1,117,000. This is based on, once again, 4 trips in and out. Hennepin County's contribution and Anoka County. We have the state general fund appropriations, but you'll see the $3.4 million. That's the infusion of the federal dollars making up for the loss in ridership and the additional cleaning that we are incurring. On the expense side, it's a $17 million budget. You'll see BNSF in at about $3.7 million. And then we have our salaries and benefits, the shared services from our regional office, fuel costs, which is diesel fuel, other costs, which is like advertising, those types of items, our insurance costs, supplies, and allocations, which is mainly police services on the train. So with that, commissioners, that is the presentation that I have for North Star. And I would open it up for any questions that you may have of Tony or myself.
Madam Chair, just how are we doing there with safety at our stations? And that's been a big question mark with the metro area. Are people going to want to go there? Are they going to feel safe once they get to our stations?
Chair, commissioners, as far as for this, we haven't had a large issue on the North Star stations. Right. It has been on the light rail stations. That is one of the things that we're actually working right now with our police force. We're targeting a few of the areas, like the Franklin station, putting more police force, more police presence out on those stations to help. And we've noticed a sizable decline in some, like for example, the Franklin station, crime is going down at that station. So, but as I mentioned, we haven't really had the problem on the North Star. It's more on the light rail. But that is one of the things that we are looking at doing right now. We are down currently just over 60 police officers. This past fall, we raised our pay rate, plus additional benefits for our officers. And we are able now, through our academies, are hiring more officers to bring that count back up in 2023. So we're very hopeful.
Sure. And I have another, now I know Anoka County has withheld some payments. Is that correct?
Commissioners, 1 year ago, I would say it was more of a challenge for us. As of this point in time, Anoka County has paid for 2020. They have paid for 2021, and for 2022, they paid the first and second quarter billings, and they paid a partial payment for third quarter. So right now, they're technically paid up through about September of 2022. Much better than where we were a year ago. So that's where I am hopeful now moving forward with the 2023 grant application that I've been indicated that they will take it to the board in 2023. I'm hopeful.
And I did briefly have a conversation while we were on break with Ed and asked him that same thing, because when the headline hits and everybody just reads the headline, they don't understand that there's things that have happened since then that really doesn't make that headline true anymore.
Yep.
So they obviously are working towards paying their obligation. It is a contracted obligation. And so you can make a statement, but it sounds like they're coming through with what they need to, and we'll see what they do in January.
So I would just add, Commissioner, that I feel that the movement's been positive.
Yeah.
So it's a positive movement.
Okay, then, Madam Chair, I need to say some things here. This is my last board meeting, and I need to say them for my benefit.
Do I need to sit down then, or?
Usually not that long-winded, just relax. But I do need to say them. I need to say them because we have 2 new board members here, and I want my history with North Star understood. I'm leaving this board after 20 years. When I came on board, North Star was just a fledgling and getting started. I was elected in the same cycle as Governor Tim Penny. And at that point, North Star was pretty much stalled out. As I was running the first time, my promise to my constituents was not in support or not in denial of North Star. My promise was to review and to try to make the best decision that I possibly could about North Star. So through that, and the governor at that point in time was in the same place. He had not been a supporter when he was in the House, or yeah, I think he was in the State House. But when he was there, he had not been a supporter. But he had promised to review and look at it again. They brought in economists from across the country. They brought in consultants. They put together an extensive presentation and taught us about North Star. Part of this is we had numerous consultants, and the consultants were making, telling us what the ridership would be. And based on the information that we had at that time, we supported North Star because the numbers worked, the potential we thought was there, and then came along the housing crisis. We struggled the first year. We did well in terms of ridership, but we also had a baseball team that made it to the championships. So that really helped us. But ever since, even and I'm not willing to roll back time and say that COVID is responsible. North Star was failing, in my mind, failing at least to live up to the expectation that had been established for us by the consultants all the way along, 2018, 2019, though we have fallen short of what the expectation is. And now, even with these doubling of small numbers, we're a long ways away. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this goes. I do know that if I was presented with the numbers as they turned out, we probably wouldn't have North Star today they wouldn't have my vote anyhow. But at any rate, we are where we are. Okay, so there's no, I can't change that. I wanted the record to reflect that we did not get what we bought. Never have. So if there's hope for the future, I hope so. I think we have a commitment. But I think among the partners, we have to come together. The partners have not come together on this, and I think the partners need to come together and come to resolution of this in some way. I know that there is a study out there, but I know that it seems to be moving pretty slowly. I wished I would have had an opportunity to weigh in more, but meetings have not been available. And so it's going to be left to the next board to deal with. But I think it's very important that our new board members don't go out of here thinking that we were just thinking North Star really did what it was supposed to do, because it hasn't. So there's work to do with North Star, and you folks are the ones who are going to have to work on it. It's not as simple as saying, hey, it was fun, we're out. We know that there are significant financial commitments as we take a look at this. So I just wanted to be clear. I wanted to be on the record with that. Ed, I appreciated your frankness and your honesty, and both of you, when you come before us, you give us the numbers as you've got them, and you know, I can appreciate you saying thank you for your service, and for I really do, and thank you for your service as well. And I know that I've not been easy over the years. I've always been challenging, and I'll probably
Been fair.
So, but I try to be fair.
Yes,
and
you are fair.
We need to be on the record.
Yep.
I need to be on the record. So thank you.
And I thank you too.
Madam Chair, and Felix is spot on. Going forward, I know that there's a study being done, and it has been requested by the partners that part of that study also includes what if we were to start the process of discontinuing North Star? What would that cost be? Because we have to be for sure and understanding with our new board members coming in that there is a cost if that is the road that we decide to go down. It is not going to be just turn away, walk away, and there's going to be no continued obligation of some sort. So I think there was $98 million, I think, that came from the federal government to help with this process, and I could be wrong on that number.
Chair committee members, you know, it's continued to depreciate through the years. Right
Okay.
now, it's in the 70 million mark.
Okay, that's still a pretty big nut.
Still a big number.
That would have to be dealt with. And so I appreciate, and I agree, this is a slow process through this study, and hoping we're going to get something at the end of it. But at the same time, it has been a challenge. There have been things that have been built around these stations that we've had some people come in and speak at open forum that this is one of the reasons they located up here, was to be around that opportunity to get on the North Star and get back and forth down to the Metro and back. But in the same time, you know, we really have to be honest and frank as to what this is going to look like in the future. So I concur with everything Felix said, but that study hopefully will include a lot of these answers, and we'll have that opportunity. But right now, you know, that isn't the time for us we're kind of on a course at the moment until that study gets done for us to get a better understanding of what our choices are, and make those decisions then, so.
And Commissioner, as you mentioned, the study is being worked on. I believe they'll have some information. I think it's in January.
Okay.
But it's laying out multiple options.
Yep.
Right.
They're not coming up with the conclusion. They're just laying out options, saying, what if you looked like this? What if you did this? You know, et cetera.
Yep.
And what are all the costs associated, and what are the challenges, et cetera.
Yep. Yep.
And I have similar thoughts as Felix. I'm a little bit more idealistic about this commuter rail. I want it to work. I really want it to work. I believe healthy communities have multimodal opportunities for people. And we are building lots of miles of roads. And this area is growing, continues to grow, and will continue to grow because we've got room out here. So I was in with Felix under Governor Palenti. We stood next to each other with shovels, groundbreaking in different capacities. But so there's a huge part of me that just wants to see this be successful somehow. So I'm looking forward to the study, to the options And I also agree wholeheartedly that we have to get back at the table with our partners
I agree.
and wrestle through these conversations. Because I don't know that that's happened since I've been on this board, and I've sat here for 6 years now. And every entity handles it differently, but somehow I'm hoping after the study comes out, when we have some options in front of us, that we start pulling together as
And talking,
partners.
and talking.
And talking.
Exactly.
And talking. And I was at the 169-4 gathering. I had one person chewing my ear saying, when are you going to shut that thing down? And then this prominent business owner said, I hope never. And this person is a business person and has never used it to commute to the cities. His business is in Zimmerman. But he's like, we have to have these opportunities for future. That's forward looking. And it was so interesting because our communities are divided on this, and that's over in Zimmerman. So I found that interesting.
Thank you.
Well, if I can just add quickly. This decision on what we do is nuanced by so many things. The federal involvement, the state involvement. We own track rights, that we own into perpetuity. We would like to know that maybe they have some value if you do, so it's not a turnkey, lock the door and say, gee, that was, it just can't happen like that. That's not the way we have too many other underlying agreements and risk factors if we do that. So we can't do that. But it certainly is time for the partners to have thoughtful, broad-ranging discussions, and that has begun, but it needs to be continued, and we need to be doing that just as quickly as possible. And the new board is going to be faced with that.
Thank you.
And my comment would be to agree with that we need to talk, we need to come to agreements, but I also feel like the future is very important and we need to have a way to keep this going somehow, because it's critical from many different perspectives, but I understand the finances and we have to look at how we can be successful with that. But I do hope that we can have a future, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Madam Chair, one real quick thing. I did also share with Ed and Tony that during the significant amount of construction that is happening on Highway 10 and along with the 169 area, there was a lot of people that commented to me about how they would have loved to have had more opportunities at ridership going in more than the 2 times, because they would have gladly put a car at the other end to avoid traveling through that construction. And the construction, I think we're still looking at, another 2 years out in how that's going to work. So maybe this opportunity at the more rides that are going to happen, that will get utilized as well. People don't like to drive through road construction.
That's correct.
in my experience, the last 5 years, I worked in St. Paul off of 280. I would have loved to ride the train, but the timing wasn't right for my 8 to 4:30 or 6, whatever, work time. And it just seems to me like more trains, more options might make it more successful, but I don't have the numbers in front of me, so, yeah.
Commissioners, that's one of the things that we've discussed is the fact is that, like the analogy, you build it, they will come. That's why we're hopeful with the 2023 budget, if we can open it up to the 4 trips in, 4 trips out, and supplement it with the special event service, if we can get all partners to agree to the grants, that will hopefully provide some opportunity. I totally agree with you, like on a morning weekday. If you only have 2 options, it's really limiting you. If you have 4 options, it does hopefully fit with riders' schedules a little closer.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, you have to provide the opportunity to generate the ridership.
And if they look at things broadly, a broad perspective, we have a successful bus, North Star bus that runs out of St. Cloud, depending on times of day and all of that. So, because the trackage is an issue, and I mean, we're there because we have a deal with BNSF. So it isn't like we decide to add 3 more trips, that we can do that. We're not
Yeah.
able to do that. But, you know, there are other options, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a train all the time either. So, I mean, I just, as you look at this, try to keep an open mind both ways is.
And I believe those are some of the options that are being looked at in the study, just
They are,
various options.
yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
You are correct. Okay. Thank you
Okay.
very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Now we're to the option.
So
Right?
Oh,
What's that?
Felix is getting ready.
move on to
Board.
consider approval of the 2023 subordinate funding agreement with Metropolitan Council for the North Star Corridor Commuter Rail.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, County Commissioners. Great discussion. I think we all know it, but it's just the beginning of the discussions that we will be having moving forward. As the results of that study become available, we'll make sure we get those into your hands for digestion. As Ed mentioned, they will provide information. They're not going to provide any recommendations. It's for us as communities to come together and digest and have those conversations as to what the future of that might look like. I will add one slight correction to Commissioner Danielowski's comment. We see the construction going on Highway 10 right now for the next couple of years. What we don't see right now is the removal of the remaining 2 signals down there that they do have funded. So we're looking at some significant construction on Highway 10 downstream from our community, probably for the next 5-6 years or more. So with that, for your consideration, the approval of the 2023 subordinate funding agreement with Met Council for the operation and maintenance of North Star. And again, based on the anticipated increase in trips per day, doubling over what we've seen last year, the amount has gone up to about $279,000 quarterly. Again, as a reminder, that amount is paid for and funded through our local option sales tax for transportation, which these maintenance and operation aspects of North Star is definitely eligible for, with many of those funds coming from the people that utilize our services here in Sherburne County but don't necessarily live within Sherburne County. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, I'll motion to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the funding agreement. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion's passed.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will adjourn our Regional Rail Authority meeting. Do you want to have a recess? Okay, so are we gonna?
Wherever you guys want to go.
Well, we could probably do the closed session here at the dais.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. And then we can go into our workshop in the back.